Hey guys, Ron Bernier here over at baseballsimresearch.com. Today we're going to look at um, an update that's going to be happening to the board readers, going from version 4.0C to 4.0D. I'll show you what's going to be included. So we're in a 4.0C board reader right now. We're on a May 12th game between the Yankees and the Pilots. So when I'm choosing my lineups here, one of the things that can be a bit annoying is I can select Aker here to pitch for New York, and if I'm not paying attention and I'm playing the game, I can end up with Aker pitching against Aker. So basically, the situation is for multi-team players, or even for players on the DL, or players that are in the minors, whatever, right? So we have Jack Aker, played for both the Pilots and the Yankees. During your replay, you probably don't want to have Aker active for both teams, right? So in 4.0C, basically, when you're choosing players, everybody's active that's on the roster, and you also end up with these blank lines as well. Long story, if you know Excel, you know why. And in 4.0D, what I've done is added a active players tab. Okay, so before you start a game, you need to set your active rosters if there's any changes. Okay, it's pretty simple on your active players, right? Columns A, B, and C should be messed with. You don't want to mess with columns E or G, and even if you do, everything's going to get rewritten anyway. So Aker started with Seattle and ended up on New York. So let's say he hasn't been traded yet, right? So we're going to go down here. We're going to find eventually here. We're going to find Aker on New York, and we're going to delete this, make it an N, do whatever you want to do. For a player to be active, you have to have this capital Y in here. Okay, that means that they're active on the roster. Okay, every time this drop down in D4 or this drop down in D22, every time those change, a macro runs, which rewrites these active players, the rosters here. Okay, so you can see Aker is active on both, and I've just chosen no in column C, or I've deleted the Y. And if I go over here and I change the team, and then I end up changing it back, right, you'll notice there was a little delay. It was from the macro running. So I choose New York again. So if I go over here on active players now, you'll notice that Aker is no longer active for New York. So those macro triggers every time the team changes. So whether or not you are using as played lineups, right? Copy lineups and start the game, that feature, or if you're choosing your own, right, your own lineups. I'm going to switch to the default. I'm going to say load this lineup, right? So if you're using, stored lineups, you're not using the as played lineups, or even if you go here and change the team manually, okay, that macro is going to run, which is going to set the lineups. You will, so like I said, you'll see a little bit of delay. Oops. The macro run that'll set the active players, sorry, not the lineups. So I'm going to get it here with New York. I'm going to go ahead and choose copy lineups and start game again, because I always use the as played lineups. But so a couple things you'll notice if you're using the active players. First of all, you don't have to do this, okay? If you don't want to worry about putting players off and on the roster, just make sure everybody is set to Y. All right, so we would go back up here and we'd set Aker to Y, and they'll be active for every game. But even if you don't decide to move players back and forth between the active and the inactive roster, you'll notice that when you drop down this list, those blank lines are gone. Okay, so it resets the data basically behind this drop down to these lists over here. Okay, When that team changes back on the main screen, again, whether it's from a macro when you're using as-played lineups or loading a lineup or what have you, these will get rewritten every single time. So if you have data in here, it's going to get deleted and it's going to get rewritten. So in this example, right, we don't have Acre active for New York. So over here in the pictures, when we go to drop down, we can't choose him. Okay, so you can control your rosters. You can control who's active. One drawback, okay, that you may run into is you forget to make a player active and then you go to insert him in the lineup and he's not there. Okay, so let's say for whatever reason Acre really was supposed to be active here for New York and not for Seattle, and we're in the middle of a game, right? I go over here to the active players and I'm going to go down and find Acre again. I'm going to change that to Y. That, just doing that does not change these lists. Okay, so that doesn't put him on the active roster. Okay, I'm going to go down here and choose Seattle, Acre from the Seattle, and I'm going to make him inactive. Okay. So remember what I said earlier, every time these team names change, okay, so if you do forget to activate a player before your game and he's not available in a drop-down list, right, so here we want to bring Acre into the game. We go in, we fix the active players, right, we took Acre off Seattle and we added him back to New York. Okay, again, every time this team changes, right, the macro will run. Okay, in fact, you technically don't have to change the team. You can choose the drop down, choose the exact same team, and you don't have to change both. You just have to change one of them, because this macro will rewrite the active players for both teams anytime a team is chosen from that drop down, even if it doesn't change. Okay, so even if you mess up and you don't have your player active in the middle of a game and you need him to bring him in, you can fix that. So that's kind of unlike, I think, anybody else's game out there. So again, that's what's coming in version 4.0D. I'm going to start working on them this weekend. It's Mother's Day weekend, 2017. Hope to start getting some of those spreadsheets sent over to Bill. Hopefully this weekend. So that's it from here, and thanks for watching.